Brandi Rank. I'm the Business Solutions Manager at Adams County, Colorado. I am in charge of innovation for the county. We won't go into that because that's kind of vague. I do lots of process improvement with lots of different groups that I support, and I'm a manager of an amazing team of technologists. So I am speaking to you from a technology point of view today. Charles, raise your hand. He's the amazing guy behind the scenes. He's our cartograph guy, does wonders. You can't have him, he's mine. So, when I think about problems, I think about solutions, right? And so, what I'm going to talk to you about, I hope you're going to leave with maybe a path, a direction that you can move in to be innovative and to be high-performing government. Because what I'm finding is that what we do is this approach. We start with technology. Someone goes and buys something and then comes to me and says, here you go, how do I use it? I don't know. How do you use it? You're the one who bought it. We don't have a plan. We might have a vision, but we didn't have a project plan in place, and we absolutely do not have processes that are going to help us do that. So I want you to think process, project, technology. If you follow that route, you will be successful. Just for those of you that are out of town, and those of you that like to read the last page of the book before you begin, this is our last slide. This is Adams County. We are all about down here in Denver, okay? North is up, west is towards that green part over there, where the mountains are. It's a great thing about Denver. Look for the mountains, that's west, okay? We all know that technology will save us from ourselves. And so that's what we do, is we buy all these gadgets, we buy software, and we say, now we're gonna do it. Now we're gonna be high performing. Now we know how this is gonna look, right? We're professionals, we go to conferences, and we see vendors, and they show us demonstrations, right? Always works really, really well because it's demonstration data, right? We have colleagues, we talk to them, what do you use? Oh, this is great, this is the system we use, I want that. Our leadership goes to conferences. I saw someone do this in another jurisdiction, they did a great job, I want it. Technology will not save you, okay? It will not save you. You need to have processes in place, you need to have a vision, you need to have a goal, but those words are meaningless without a plan, without a path, without a process, without a project, without execution, okay? The thing is, you're really unfair to us IT people, because when we do a good job, you're like, it's like magic. You're a wizard. And we're nerds. So I'm like, heck yeah, I'm a wizard. Right? We are not wizards. Technology is the literal opposite of magic. The literal opposite. There's a software developer writing code. Every single character, every single space tells the computer to do something. Not whatever it wants, not whatever you dream it up to be. It is literally the opposite of magic, right? So, although I would love to live in the world of Lord of the Rings and be Gandalf, or probably an elf, that's not real, and you guys have to stop doing this to yourself. You're setting expectations that are completely unrealistic. It's not fair to do that to the IT staff, because although we want to be, we are not magical, and you're setting yourself up to fail because you think it's magic. If I hear one more time about people buying technology and then being like, why doesn't it integrate with everything else that I want it to? I'm going to scream, because it's not magic. It's not magic. You have to have people who can help the systems talk to each other. And when you go and you don't include technology people, and you don't share your vision, and they're not a part of the project, then you're asking the impossible, and it's not going to happen. Because this is what we all think we are. We're moving stuff on the board, and everything's real time, right? Everything interacts with each other. I can just go, I have an idea and I want to do it. Here's the data. Where did that come from? This is a reality that we all face. There's no data. I have this really great idea, and here's the data, and then this is how we're going to solve the problem. Where's the data? Who made it? What's the audience? Where are you going to get it? Right? And when I thought about why do people buy technology before they know how they're going to use it, it killed me for years. I didn't get it. It was so illogical, right? These are incredibly intelligent leaders, managers. These are smart people. And I realized they followed a process they knew. When you don't know what to do, you revert back to what you know. Well, maybe, this is the easy part. right? Buying stuff is a clear organizational process. We all know how to do this. We do this for contracts, we do it for goods, we do it for software. Finance is not going to let you circumvent this process, right? If someone is there saying, absolutely not, fill this out, do this, this is the way you do it. And so we do it. And then when we buy it, we don't know what to do next because no one's telling us, right? We have to figure that out. And so I got to thinking about how processes are made. And I'm going to tell you a story. When I was putting this presentation together, it just kind of fell in my lap, so I'm going to share it with you. It's not a technological story. So Adams County, about 4 or 5 years ago, oil and gas development was increasing rapidly in the county. They're moving out of Weld and coming down into Adams. And politically speaking, this was something that was coming up a lot in public hearings. People were writing in. There's literal explosions, as you guys all know, in the Colorado area happening. And so we needed to react to this. And literally, an event happened, oil and gas production increased. We reacted to it. How are we going to send letters out to people, residents, right? And so we created a process. And this was a short timeline, high political, and safety, you know, and we want to do the right thing for our citizens and keep them aware of things. And of course, you always say, well, we're going to go back to that later, right? Because we're reacting. We had like 2 days. So we figured it out. It's kind of like this. So we kind of have those structures in place, right? You're going to go back. Of course, we're going to do better. We'll revisit this. You know what? Your day job gets in the way. A new priority comes up. A new issue, a new reaction, and a new process is going to be created for something else. So you don't go back, right? And so what you've done is you have now created a process that was not intended to be the way things are done, and now it's the way things are done. Why are you doing that? Because that's the way we do it. Well, no, it's the way we've been doing it, and we reacted to this thing, right? This is not where you want to be living. You've got to be living in intentional processes, okay? So, people from the Denver Peak Academy were here, and they didn't talk about this. I was hoping they would kind of set me up. But talk to them, because they're amazing. We got this, Nick brought me to Adams County. He learned from Denver Peak, I believe. So what we do is we have a piece of paper, we have sticky notes that you have every step of your process, or every decision that you're making in your process, and I'm not going to teach anything more than that, other than to say this is a great visual, and you're intentionally walking through every single step, okay? So when I contacted the manager she oversees the oil and gas group, I said, listen, my employee is a little bit confused about what we're doing, because employees change, issues change. We didn't have a clear process, and you know how it's like organic, like things kind of morph. You know, you kind of have to, like you said, herd cats, like you have to bring it back in, refocus. And I said, she's really not sure what's going on. Can we get together and can we do a process map? And she said, yes. Like, when can we do it? Which I have to say is amazing, because 4 years ago, that would not have been the reaction that I was getting from employees. But now, since we have so many, have achieved so much through this process, people are ready to do it, right? And so I said, get the team, you know, I'll bring my team. So there's the GIS people, there's the administrative support staff, and there's the oil and gas. And we sit in the room, and the managers don't say anything, right? People doing the work tell us what their process is. And you'd be amazed at what their process was. We had gone through, the last 2 or 3 years, we're moving electronically, okay? And so this entire process was done electronically, and then the administrative staff was printing out every single piece of paper, putting it in a file folder, and putting it in a storage room, okay? And the boss of that division was like, what are you doing? We're not doing that anymore. We're paper, right? And so this is why it's key you have the people doing the work, because the manager would not have said this was happening, right? But the people doing the work said it was happening. And so we were able to remove that piece, right? As of today, she said, I do declare you're not doing that anymore, right? I mean, how ridiculous. But they had never been told not to, right? All these other processes, they were specifically told, this is your process. And this one we hadn't got to. That's huge, right? This is an opportunity for communication. Everyone in the room not only knows their part, they now know everybody's part of the process, right? It brings camaraderie. When you have managers sitting and listening to you and really delving into something you do, really detailed, that's so powerful as an employee. That is so powerful to feel that. My manager cares. And this is one little tiny process. This doesn't even count the hundreds of other things that I do, right? And we could kind of, camaraderie's built, like we all share in this, we all have a part in this, it's all important, it all has to happen. That is a huge benefit to going through this exercise. And at the end, we created a SOP, or standard operating procedure, standard work. We have it listed out. This happens, this person does it. This happens, this person does it, right? We have crucial deadlines. So this step has to happen within one day of this other step. So now we also know what success looks like. This document is written, it's shared between everyone, it's been vetted through everyone. Actually, as we were going through it, we realized we had forgotten a step. We added it in, made sure everybody was okay with it. If someone leaves, or a different person takes over their role, here you go. This is how we maintain it, right? Live in the world of intentional processes. I get this feeling from people that like something's happened to them. Oh, this is the way it is. Take control. What are you doing? Right? You talk about it, be clear about it, be intentional about it. It feels good. If you ever worked on a process that you knew this little step that you were doing wasn't valuable, how does that make you feel? Right? You feel totally devalued. And we're spending public dollar here. We need to be efficient, right? So you're reducing time and resources. I talked about the paper as an example. Standard work, now everybody knows we can measure success. There's been a lot of great people speaking about those topics, so I'm going to keep it low level. Okay, remember at the beginning, process, so we just talked about that. Project, okay? A goal without a plan is a dream. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? What's your goal? Okay, I'm not a PMP. Many of you may have project managers or project management office. We didn't at the time when I started this stuff out, we do now. She hates this graphic, so please don't look at it. Apparently it's terribly inaccurate. My point of this graphic is clearly to show it's a visual, it's clear, people know what the deadlines are, stick to it. Write down your project plan. Write it down, okay? I hear all the time, we all know. No, you don't. No, you don't. And don't assume that everybody in your group has the same idea of what it is you're going to do, because they don't. I guarantee you. Write it down, okay? There's two things. You are going to use this to communicate within your project team, okay? You're going to keep everyone up to date, everyone's focused, everyone knows what you've agreed to. And we talk about high-performing government, we talk about transparency and accountability. Okay? Those are amazing things, and I bet all of us think of the public. But I'm talking about being transparent and accountable internally. Share this documentation. We don't communicate well. I work on a lot of projects related to technology. It's not one person that uses it, right? It's an organizational piece of software, right? It hits many different departments. So this is a great way to communicate with all those people what you're doing. Right? If I have 80 Cartograph users, I don't have 80 people on my project, right? We might only have 10. But you have to tell the rest of them because they're all going to be. This is how you become high performing as well. People like to know what's going on. Your project's going to talk about who, what, where, when, and why. So, who in the organization should be involved? This is why if one of your primary goals is an integration with another system, you should probably have an IT person on here, right? So I know they don't need to know, sometimes people feel that way, they do, right? Who are the data stewards, who are the decision makers? You're gonna write this stuff down and make sure you get those people in the room, okay? What are the goals and objectives? Where can technology be utilized? I've had, sometimes we don't know the big picture. We don't know maybe what another group's doing, or another group's already begun. And so if you have people in the room who kind of have an overview of what's going on elsewhere, they can say, oh, we already have something like that. We think we can make that work. Or that's great, you're thinking about that, because this other group's thinking about something similar. Let's partner, right? And I know that scares people because then they think, oh, this is never going to happen, right? But again, you're spending public dollar. We need to be responsible for this. And as a person who's the support, I'd really rather less software products that I have to be the person that knows everything about. When does it need to be done? Is your project deadline driven? Do you have some time? Or what's your goal? And then why? Why are you doing this? If you can't articulate it, you don't need to do it, right? You need to sell this to people. You need to be accountable to yourself, and leaders have to communicate the why. People, the worst thing is when someone says because, right? Because I said, because I'm your boss, and I get to tell you what to do, right? It's not a reason, okay? Respect your employees. I really only put the slide up because I love the photo. Because I feel like this sometimes. I'm like, oh, go home and stare at the wall. Projects have barriers. This is a part of your project plan too. Talk about them because we're not complaining. We're talking about how to mitigate or remove those barriers, right? If you don't have executive sponsorship, how are you going to get it? Your employees have day jobs. They're working on this project, but they have other things to do, and they might have many different things to do. You need buy-in because they need to have time. There's a lot of times where I try to get people to get involved in stuff. I can't leave my desk. I have too much work to do. Getting that executive sponsorship says, this is important to the organization. We're giving you time. We need you to be a part of this. Okay. Process, project. I'm flying through these things, I know. Technology. Okay? So I'm going to tell you a story about Adams County. This will be fun. So, we have had Cartograph, I think, and I mentioned Cartograph because we're at a Cartograph conference. We've had Cartograph for about 7 years or so. And we had Navigator at first, so, no offense to Navigator, but we love OMS. We kind of weren't using the system, right? Because we were using that old way, technology, project, process. Really wasn't working out for us that great. We had about 17 active assets. What?
That's what it means.
Okay. That wasn't the joke, but okay. And as we all know, for using asset management, we've got a couple programs that those assets are informing our maintenance, regulatory, CIP, right? And of course, a cute little map. So we have 17 active assets. None of them are really working that great, okay? They're fine, nothing's but we're not really getting information out, right? And so when I talked to Charles, who I made a wave earlier, I said, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna make this work, right? Everyone likes to talk about the elephant, and there's a horrific story that Nick told us yesterday about the elephant, but we have to have a project plan. We have to know, we have to break it down in little pieces, and we have to get this done. 17 is way too much. So what are we going to focus on, okay? We decided we were going to pitch the idea to Public Works that we wanted to do 3, okay? Signs, that was an easy one. The traffic shop's doing an amazing job. We knew we didn't really have to work that much on it, so it made us feel good, and we could just keep them moving, the momentum going. Bridges was another one. I think the bridge inspections were coming up. I was getting a lot of questions about it, and I was like, I had nothing. I don't know anything about bridge inspections. I don't know. And then pavement, which is kind of I shouldn't use that word, it's really our roads. Adams County, the majority of our roads are actually gravel. We have 1,600 lane miles of gravel road. So when I say pavement, forgive me if I say it, it's what we call it in Cartograph, it's really road. And Public Works said, yep, we're buying in, we're on board, let's do it. And so we spent a long time trying to get these right, okay? In an asset management system, you have to have labor records. Who updates that? People, there's a lot of changes to your labor records if you have never done it. New people, raises every year. Who's gonna do that? Equipment lists. Where's the list? What's your equipment? Are you gonna do a lawnmower or trucks? Someone has to figure that out, right? What about our material list? And figure it out and maintain it, right? Material. What's your material list? How much do these things cost? Okay, so if you buy it in a ton, do you apply it in a ton? So we need to figure out all of these details of how we are going to get this data in the system. People talk about garbage in, garbage out. I don't hear it as much anymore. But sometimes I feel like, do you even know what you're saying? Do you even believe it? Like, it's lost all meaning, right? But it's true, because you can't get information out of a system unless you put stuff into a system, okay? So, we move into capture mode, and we get all of our lists, and we're looking at our GIS data. What I heard was our GIS data is bad. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Let's talk about roads for a second. I look at it, and I'm like, looks like it's running down the center. Like, I don't see what your problem is. You know, I think it looks right to me. They were talking about the attributes, not the GIS, right? And if you ask me what's the overlay, I have no idea. I'm a GIS person. You know, you're the person in charge of this stuff. Like, you tell me if it's wrong. Because if you have data that you don't use, it's wrong. You gotta look at it. And so we go through this. You have to know the end though. There's some people that think the more data I get, the better off I am. I assure you that is not true, okay? So what data do I need to make the decisions? What data do I need to be on reports? What data do I care about? And then how is that going to be maintained? Because if someone looks in your data, very, very smart person looks in your data and says that right there is wrong, and you go, oh, well, no one cares about that anyways. That doesn't matter. That person doesn't believe any of it now. And I absolutely understand why. So get that stuff out that you don't maintain and you don't care about. This is not a one and done, okay? This is continuous improvement. You will probably do it wrong the first time. Get over it. Do it again, right? It's not linear. It's not ever going to stop. Sometimes you capture, and then you get to your predict mode, and you're like, oh, yeah, no, we got to go back to capture, and then you can analyze, and we forgot, this is continuous. Remember I said we had 17 assets. They're all in different stages as well, right? So think about it as a continuous improvement effort. So, year one, that was our gravel maintenance program. We worked really hard for over a year. Okay? Thanks for laughing. I cried a little. No, I'm just kidding. So, what my point to this slide is, it's really hard. That's what we get paid to do. Keep going. Keep going. Okay? Because by year two, we have this fancy little report. And our operations manager was super excited because he could see the cost, for example, of his service versus his urgent grading. So when his graders were out there on planned routes, he was also looking at overtime hours as well. This was the first time that someone looked at a report that came out of Cartograph and said, that's right. We have gotten to the point where all the data is getting put in the way we want it to. All the data is being managed. We're putting tasks. We're doing everything we need to do. So I know that, not me, the manager said, yes, we are to that point where this is an accurate reflection of reality. This was huge. Okay? Now, just if you remember the end of the book, this is where we are. So my genius Charles, tapped into the API. We have information coming out of Cartograph. We can put it in ArcGIS Online. We have, I'm sorry if this is hard to see, these are little widgets down here. Labor, equipment, material, total cost, and the total lane miles that have been graded for Adams County. We do unincorporated, if you're wondering why it's all over here, but it's also gravel. Red means it was graded more times. So then this orange is. And then I don't see any of that dark. Oh yeah, the brown. That's the most, right? Visual, it's interactive, okay? So if I zoom in into a certain area, these widgets actually update for me, so I can look at different areas and see how much they cost. It's all coming from Cartograph, right? And if you zoom in and click on a single segment, you can get information about that one specific segment. This is amazing, right? I could even show this to the Board of County Commissioners, and they'd probably want to play with it too, right? And then, of course, we have our urgent grading as well. It's hard to see, and I don't know if, I think we can't change this. These tabs, those are all activities in Cartograph. So if you went through, you'd actually be able to look based on the activity list that we have. So, in summary, you need to innovate, you need to change, especially in the world of technology. Sometimes you don't have a choice. People say, we will no longer support this as of this day. So sometimes you're forced to do it, right? But you should. You should do this anyways. I was talking to someone outside before I came in, and they were talking about the fear of the iPad. You know, if that person has a kid or a grandchild, seriously, have them show it. Sometimes they don't want to be shown by someone else because they feel like, I'm not good enough, why don't I already know this already? Have the kids show them. I mean, kids show me how to use technology all the time. I love it. Process, project, technology. Say it with me.